You pick up 6,000 customers, you drop them off in 7,000 different locations, and you make $5 freaking dollars. Now tell me, how does that add up? It doesn't, right? Uber Pool is for really, really cheap customers. These are high school students, these are college students, and these are really cheap adults. Really, really cheap adults that typically take the bus or the train, or for whatever reason they're late, so now they're jumping in a Uber Pool. So during rush hour, I will not accept, let me take that back. I will accept as few Uber Pools as I can. You don't want to get in the habit of missing too many calls because that affects your ratings. So like for me, I'm hovering at about 4.9 something. So it always goes up to like 4.93, 4, and then drops back down to like 4.91. I typically get 5 stars from all my customers, but the other factor in your rating is how many calls you accept or reject. So during the morning rush hours, I typically will pick up about 10 customers, I want to say, sometimes more, sometimes less, but typically around 10. And out of those 10, 1 or 2 would be Uber Pools. But in the meantime, I've probably had about 3 or 4 Uber Pools that came in and I didn't accept because I don't want no freaking cheap people. Uber Pool takes up a lot of your time. Let's say you get 3 customers, which is what happens here in Chicago most of the time. You pick up that first Uber Pool, and then right away the second one comes, and then you got to go pick up the third person. And then by the time you're dropping all 3 of them off, you've wasted an hour for $6, $7, $8 after the commission. So I typically reject those. I don't accept them, but I'm mindful of how many I reject. So you don't want to miss too many, but if I were you, I would not accept Uber Pools during the rush hour because it's a waste of time. You could make more money picking up Uber X's, or in my case, my car qualifies as an Uber XL, so I pick up Uber XLs too. Uber XL is pretty sweet because that's double the rate of Uber X. So you want to figure out when the busy times are. You want to typically avoid Uber Pools because they're really cheap people. Most of your customers during the morning rush hour, they just are in a rush to get to work or get to class or get to whatever it is. They're not very talkative. Sometimes you'll get a person here and there that's talkative. As long as you just take them to where they need to go, you'll probably get 5 stars. You don't really have to conversate much with them. I never initiate conversation. If they want to chat, they can chat it up. I will conversate with them, but I'm not going to initiate conversation. When they come in, good morning, and that's about it. But if they want to talk, they could go ahead and initiate the conversation. As far as my customers are concerned, and their ratings, right? They get to rate us. So let's talk about rating your customers. I never give customers a 5-star rating. Never. I mean, they have got to be the most interesting person in the world, this out of this world conversation, and all of that. If they are, which is rare, I'll give them a 5-star. But I typically don't give out 5 stars. I give them 4 stars. And the reason I give them 4 stars is because they don't tip. I mean, tip is a very important part of the service industry. And until now, Uber has not added the tip function. Lyft does have a tip function. But even when you drive for Lyft, maybe about 30% of your customers would tip. And you don't know who's tipping you. It does help out though. I mean, an extra 10, 15 bucks in tips is pretty cool when I'm doing Lyft. But Uber, there is no tip capability for a customer, so you don't get tips. So that's why I don't give them 5 stars. So I give every customer a 4-star. Now, if they're one of those customers that gets in your cab and they start barking orders at you and this and that and the third, I'll give them a 1 star because, you know, dude, let me just take you to where you need to be, or lady, let me take you to where you need to be. I don't need all the extra bullshit, you know. I'm gonna take you there and that's it. But if customers give me any attitude, I'll give them a 1 or 2 stars. And that's important to rate your customers accordingly because, you know, I don't want to get stuck with terrible customers, just like I'm sure you don't. So we have to rate them. If I see a customer with like a 1 or 2 star rating, I won't pick it up, even if it's an Uber XL, because I know it's trouble. So rate your customers, and you could figure out your own rating system. I mean, if you like people and you want to give them 5 stars, give them 5 stars. But, you know, those are some of the things that I do to rate my customers. Okay, so let's see. We've talked about rush hour. We've talked about Uber Pool. We've talked about customer ratings. Wait, let me give you some advice. Typically, you want to follow all the rules of the road, all right? Like, what happens in downtown Chicago is Uber drivers who are not familiar with the city will get a request, and they realize it's behind them. And so, what you see happening in the middle of downtown on Michigan Avenue, our busiest street in downtown, you see Uber drivers making U-turns. Look, guys, it's not freaking worth it. Don't make U-turns in the downtown area of Chicago, and I'm sure it's in most major cities. U-turns are illegal in almost all of Chicago. And you shouldn't be in a rush to pick up your customers. You guys, you're not getting $100 fare from these guys, so let them wait a few minutes more. Go around, do the safe thing, drive around the block. I know in downtown Chicago it's much more difficult because of all the one-ways, but it's not worth it. You make a U-turn, you could get in an accident. You make a U-turn, you could get a ticket from a cop because U-turns are illegal in Chicago. So it's not worth it. And why are you in a rush to pick up customers anyways? When you get there, you typically have to wait 5 minutes anyways, don't you? Right? They're never outside waiting for you, right? So don't risk your life, your car, you know, get into an accident and a ticket to rush over to a customer. Just go around the block and let them wait a couple of minutes. Because, you know, we wait for them all the time. Oh, and that's another factor. If I have to wait more than a couple of minutes for a customer, I drop their rating to a 3. So right off the bat, they're not tipping me, right? So it's a 4. If you're late, it takes you more than a couple of minutes to come down and get in my car, you drop to a 3. So before they're even in my car, they're at a 3, right? And if they're crappy customers, I drop it down even further. So those are just some of the things about ride sharing in Chicago. I don't want this video to be too long, and also I'm gonna get ready to start driving again, so I will talk to you guys. If you guys have any questions, death2uberpool@gmail.com, or comment on the video. Yeah, and we'll talk later.